Mike, you know who's the best?
Good evening and welcome to the October 30th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. First item on the agenda are minutes. October 23rd. Tom?
I'd like to put them in as substantially good and for their approval.
Second?
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Request for continuance under a notice of intent. I thought you stole my pen already. Just checking. Town of Falmouth Beach Committee, care of Don Hoffer, Minot Beach, Minot Road, East Falmouth, for permission to remove all hidden rocks, asphalt pilings, wooden structures, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Yes, Madam Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until December 4th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a continuance till December 4th. Are there any questions on the board? Are there any questions from the audience?
I motion
Tom
second.
and Tommy. All in favor of the motion on the table, which is a continuance till December 4th, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Request for determination of applicability. GM Leone Corporation, care of Gerard Leone, 410 West Falmouth Highway, West Falmouth, for permission to upgrade a new Title V sewage disposal system that includes saw cutting asphalt parking lot, replacement of existing septic tank with a 1,500-gallon H20 septic tank, removal of the distribution box, installation of a 1,000-gallon pump chamber, force main, and a 30-foot by 30-foot leach field, to reset and relocate the existing catch basin, to regrade and repave the leach field area of the parking lot for groundwater separation, and the associated excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, the staff has reviewed the project. We're recommending a negative 200 state in the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, you got two motions and a second there. If anybody's here for an RDA, a negative determination means you can go ahead with what you've agreed with staff. It means you don't have to come back for a notice of intent. Okay, are there any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, hearing none, we'll take a vote on the motion, which is to accept staff's recommendation of a negative determination. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Kimberly Shooter, 71 Nauset Avenue East, North Falmouth, for permission to pump, fill, and abandon the existing cesspools and install a new Title V sewage disposal system.
Yes, Madam Chairman, the staff has reviewed the project. We're recommending a negative 200 statement under the bylaw, negative 300 the state, with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table to accept staff's recommendation. Are there any questions on the board? Are there any questions from the audience? Okay, we'll take a motion. We'll take a vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Third, U.S. Coast Guard, care of A.A. Jacobs, 1 Little Harbor Road, Woods Hole, for, pardon me?
Saying goodnight to John.
For permission to repair anchor rod holes in the existing steel sheet pile bulkhead and to recoat a section of the steel sheet pile bulkhead.
Yes, Madam Chairman, review the project and recommending a -2 under the statement bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, motion on the table is to accept staff's recommendation of a negative determination. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Request for hearings under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are heard simultaneously under the authority of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. First up is Barbara for Bryant Point LLC, care of Pabian and Russell, LLC, 47 Bryant Point Road, North Falmouth. First time I was there, it was pretty down there. For permission to raise, RAZE, the existing dwelling and to construct a 4-bedroom, single-family house with a deck, covered porches, to install AC units, utilities, parking area, native mitigation plantings, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Madam Chairman, presenting my comments until after Barbara's presentation.
Good evening, Barbara.
Good evening. For the record, Barbara Frappia with Warwick and Associates. And may I start
Can
just...
you speak up? We can't hear back here.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't hear the previous things at all.
We'll do the best we can.
Good, thank you.
And I would like to ask if you might want to introduce your new member to all of us that don't know who it is.
This is Lori White, and she's been here for a couple of weeks.
Well, I
It's
haven't.
you who have not been here.
Hi. Hi, Lori.
I don't have a nameplate yet, but
Okay.
it's coming.
We're coming, it's coming.
For those of you that have been out there, you can see this is a lovely neighborhood. There is a single-family dwelling on a lot that is almost entirely within your, well, it is all entirely within your jurisdiction. We have coastal beach, land under ocean, coastal bank, coastal dune, and land subject to coastal storm flowage, both A and V flood zones. What the applicant is proposing to do is raise the existing four-bedroom dwelling and create a new structure, also 4 bedrooms, almost within the same footprint. There is, if you look at the submittal, there is a decrease in footprint within the A buffer to both the coastal bank and the coastal dune of 115 square feet. And there is an increase in the B buffer, so we have a net increase of footprint on the entire property of 69 square feet. We have moved back from the 50-foot buffer to both the coastal bank and the coastal dune. Mitigation planting is proposed. It is shown here in the dark green, as well as 1 red cedar. We have noted that this is an approximate area for the mitigation, although the square footage will be the same. The area will be close to this until the house is up and the porch is there and the furniture is there. You're not really sure whether you want to move it a little 5 feet here or there, but that's approximately where the the mitigation planting will be installed. Needless to say, we will have approval from staff for the final planting. There are an awful lot of cedar trees on the left side of the property. There are some that I flagged out there that will be taken down. I think you'll see the ones that are dead. There are a couple that are right now hanging over the house or brushing up against it. If they can be saved, we'd like to save those, but it will be necessary to trim them up on one side to keep them from scraping on the existing house or the new house. The only significantly large tree that's going to be removed is in the front here, it's a 9-inch cedar, which we are mitigating for. It's in a thicket of other shrubs, including rhododendrons. All the foundation plantings, such as the rhododendrons, will be removed. As you can see, there's no real driveway at this site, so in order to facilitate construction activity, we will be bringing in, you can see that the septic system is right along the street side of the property. We will have to bring in temporarily some fill, and we'll put some street plates down over the septic system to protect it, to allow trucks. Won't be very wide, as you can see, it's a very small area, but just enough to get a truck off the road to leave materials, to bring in concrete or whatever. When that is done, most of that fill will be removed, as will the street plates. Some will remain. I have highlighted here in gray, there is going to be an area that's going to keep some fill right along the edge of the property line that will facilitate parking for 2 vehicles parallel with the street. Siltation barriers will be in place, and the mitigation planting will be done probably in the spring, as it would be too late, even though they may start the work now. The planting won't be done until next spring. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thanks, Barbara. Jen? Tommy? Tom?
No questions at this time.
Mike?
The intent is to not stockpile
Phil?
soil or fill on site.
Because there's no room,
No, that's the point.
any fill not proposed for immediate reuse will be trucked off-site. There's no place to stockpile fill there.
And the limit of work will be delineated on the plan?
It is across the top of Coastal Bank. The limit of work is pretty much the entire property. But there will be a siltation barrier across the top of Coastal Bank, and we'll probably put something down the side to make sure we don't go into someone else's property.
It's the side that,
On the right-hand side.
on the right hand.
Yes, correct. Because there's coastal dune right there as well. So you see that there's a limit of work line that goes around the dune to protect that area. We're also going to wrap the trees that aren't coming out to protect them.
She has that on the plan. Goes here, and along here.
I didn't see it along the side.
Here it is.
It's the one with the line and
The
then.
triple X and then-
X's.
Triple X and then a lot dot.
Dot.
Oh, I thought that was a property line.
Dot X dot.
Okay. Sorry, Bob.
And I apologize for MapQuest bad directions,
Oh, okay. You're forgiven.
officially.
No further questions.
Mario?
Just one question, Barbara.
Sure.
In the northeast corner, okay, where the dune is,
Yes.
the limit of work is awfully close to that, isn't it? A couple of feet, looks like.
That's correct. I mean, I could put the...
Well, it's at the edge of the lawn, right?
It's right at the edge of the lawn area, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to be able to get around the building.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Lori?
I would make it wider if I could, Mario, I just don't have the land to do it.
No questions.
If I- Oh, I'm sorry.
You can go. I have some questions, too.
Thank you. Are they going to do underground service to this? Or are they going to keep the overhead?
Underground utilities?
Right.
I would assume that they may try to do that. I don't know at this time.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
First is trees.
Yes, trees.
So I noticed that the trees that you have marked in the field to be removed
Yes.
aren't on the plan. And normally we require number of trees to be removed.
Well, they were the dead
And
ones, and I
caliper
flagged
inch?
them, but I can give you a,
We need number of trees and caliper inch. And then somewhere between number of trees and caliper inch. They weren't all dead, the ones you have for removal.
I thought they were dead as doornails.
Well, they
No.
had green, when I looked up,
Were they all,
right along there.
those ones right there? I will mark them on the plan, the ones that I flagged.
Yeah, and normally, I mean, what we request is that you give us the number of trees that are gonna be removed and the caliper inch. And somewhere between those two numbers, you compensate for that.
Well, what I could do is,
And if they're,
I could
if
say
they've
we're not going to
died,
remove any other than that one 9-inch tree, and just leave those there and try to work around them, if that would work better for you, and come back at some other time.
well, if you'd rather do that, but that's the, that's the compensation for it.
Yeah. I don't want to make the decision for the client.
Okay.
Could I take us 30 seconds to confer with Mr. Ahmed? Would that be all right?
Yes.
I'm going to, all those trees I had flagged out there that aren't on my plan, I'm not going to take them down,
Okay,
dead or not.
okay, but
The only
we'll-
one is the 9-inch tree in the front that I
Okay,
cited.
but we need a plan with them on and what their sizes are.
I have them all on the plan.
You have all of the ones?
All the
I think
trees
so.
are on there. Everything 5-inch
I do have
caliper or
caliper.
better is on the plan.
Nancy?
Okay,
I agree.
okay.
So I'll take that off the table.
Yeah, and then if there are some that need to come down,
Then we'll come
then
back.
come back and, what?
No, no.
Well, the thing is, I don't want to delay having the project move forward, to have to come back sometime and whenever to, deal with
All right.
trees.
My other question is, are you taking any fill out? Are you digging a foundation?
No, this is going to be a crawl space
Okay.
type foundation. There's a
So you're-
finished space,
so
and there'll
you're
be very
bringing-
little fill coming out.
You're bringing some fill,
We're bringing some temporary fill in for the ramp for
and
the
most of it
trucks.
will be removed, but you're going to leave some for a driveway.
For, yes, a parking area right along the front lot.
Okay, so I understand that that's your plan. I'm only going to suggest, given the topography of that area,
Yeah,
that you design in something to deal with runoff, because it just,
it will be gravel, it's not going to be paved, so we'll consider that, because they don't want to have.
yeah, they don't want to have
problem.
runoff go right down into their house, and right now,
No.
that's what it would do.
Well, it's going to be level. So I'll make sure that we don't have any runoff into the street either. I don't want, it's just going to be a gravel,
It's going to be
Strip.
level with the street?
yeah, level with the front. It's flood zone.
C-zone.
Parking's right here, on this little flat area. It's outside of jurisdiction, actually, but it's in a C zone and it's beyond the 100-foot.
Oh, you're just doing it level to the side,
Yes,
not
yes.
level, I
No,
thought,
no,
I thought.
that's a-
what-
that's a
I thought
temporary
it was-
ramp.
I thought that ramp was your parking area.
That's a
All
temporary
right.
ramp just to get a truck
Yep,
off the
yep,
road.
That's
onto
fine.
the
So you're
property.
going to leave that little,
Yes,
okay,
sorry.
Yeah.
That wasn't clear.
well, it probably was clear, but I misinterpreted.
Okay.
Okay, Tom?
If you don't take those trees down, all your activity to go around is going to be on the eastern side of the house
That
then.
is correct.
Is your contractor prepared for that?
He is now.
Okay, well, I'm just
We
saying.
weren't Tom, we were only going to take down 3 or 4 that were
Right.
right up against the house. I still have a whole grove of cedars there they can't get around anyways.
Yeah, it just would have been,
It would have been a little easier,
yeah,
yes.
looking at it from, if I had to do that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Jen?
No.
Any questions from the audience? Sir?
Yes,
Sir, you have to come up and tell us who you are and speak into the microphone. As you already see, the microphone doesn't work for this room, but it works for
okay,
TV.
we can handle handle it. Donald Klein, K-L-E-I-N, 53 Bryant Point Road. And my question is, will the, in terms of filling, will the actual main floor of the house be where it is presently located, or will it be raised, and if so, how much?
Okay, Barbara can answer that for you.
We are elevating the house to be compliant under FEMA standards, which means that the first floor will be, conservation also requires that we go up an extra foot beyond FEMA. So the first floor for the new house will be at elevation 15. Give me a second here, I'll pull out the existing conditions.
First floor elevation, I think you have
16.4.
16.4, take it back.
So,
16.4 for the existing, so we'll be at least 16.4. So it's not going to be any higher. It's not going to be raised up in the air, if that's what you're concerned about. Because I have a set of architecturals if you'd like to see.
Yeah.
Anyone would like to see the house?
Okay, sir, that was your question?
Thank
That
you.
was my question. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. You also have to come up and tell us who you are. And we can see you were a volunteer for the other day. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Mary Ann Smith, and I live at 177 Bay Road Extension. I know it's Bay Road, but we call it the extension. But I'm concerned about, when I reviewed the plans in the Conservation Office, it looked like there was a riprap that was going to go right along the front of that property.
Well, there is riprap right along the front.
It's already there?
It's already there,
Okay.
yeah.
I
It's a
couldn't
low
see it.
stone wall,
Okay.
right behind the dunes.
All right.
Yeah,
That was my question, that.
yeah,
was
there's
it-
nothing, no additional riprap.
Okay,
That's existing.
thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, if we have no further questions, I'm sure Barbara and Bob would be happy that if we were to put a motion on the table to close it and take it under advisement.
I move to close this hearing and take it under advisement.
Second?
Second.
You got that? One close, one motion, and 2 seconds? Yep. Okay, the motion and a second on the table to close the hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Okay. Scott and Sharon Almany, 430 Davisville Road, Unit 2, East Falmouth, for permission to raise, R-A-Z-E, again, the existing dwelling and to construct a single-family house with decks, covered entrance with stairs, landing with stairs, outdoor shower, to install dry wells, a split rail fence, utilities, native mitigation plantings, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Hi, Mike, and before you begin, I don't think we have a DEP number for you.
yeah, Mike, you can get these, yeah.
Okay, just to, Jen, do you have any initial comments or questions for Mike?
No.
Okay, good evening, Mike.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. My name is Michael Borselli from Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant, Scott and Sharon Alamany. The Alamanis are here tonight. If there's specific questions that they may be able to answer better than I. The property is at 430 Davisville Road. I hope you all were able to find it. The sign was out on Davisville, but it's a very long driveway to the end.
Slower.
And it has, and it's right down near the waters of Bourne's Pond.
We only had to turn around
Once.
once. But we found it.
So if
But it
you-
was before your sign was out, too. We found it even without the sign,
Wow, that's pretty good.
yeah.
So we're here tonight, hopeful that we can receive an order of conditions to raise and reconstruct the existing house at this property. The house before you has been in the family for many, many years. It It was historically a summer home for the family, and it's really in need of improvement, and it wasn't really cost-effective to renovate it, so they have made a decision to raise and reconstruct it, and it will provide more comfortable and better living arrangements for the family and extended family that would use the property. So I consulted with them and advised them on your standard redevelopment regulations at 10.18, and the project was designed to conform with those standards. We have 2 wetland resources on the property, including land under the ocean, salt marsh, a bordering vegetated wetland, and a very low-profile, non-eroding coastal bank, and it's also within land subject to coastal storm flowage. And I've put on the plan the associated no disturbance zone A's and outer buffer zone B's, and I've done the calculations on the impervious surfaces. The proposed structure will not move closer to the wetland resource than the present primary structure, and it's set back at least 25 feet from the salt marsh. There are some increases in impervious surfaces, and then to offset those increases, we're proposing mitigation planting at the ratios that are appropriate. And I've shown the mitigation planting in areas that are within the no disturbance zone A of the salt marsh and adjacent to existing buffers. I've shown all the trees on the site, and the project's been designed to avoid cutting of any trees, so there's no tree mitigation proposed. There is already an existing septic system that serves the 3 dwellings that are on this property, and it's in this location. So the only thing that'll happen is the plumbing will be reconnected to the existing plumbing so that it can continue to be connected to that existing septic system. I think
But you
that's
are going to give us 1 tree because it's over 1,000 square feet of mitigation plantings, right?
Did I miss that one again?
Mhm.
So I'm going to have to give you 1 tree because we're over 1,000 square feet of
Right,
mitigation.
we can condition that.
And that'd be good if you could, but I do have to continue the hearing, so I
Oh.
could add it to the plan.
Oh,
And I
that's
could
true.
talk to the Alaminis about finding an appropriate location.
Okay, yeah. I would have suggested that you can work with them and staff to find out an appropriate location. But yeah, we have to continue it anyway.
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
I have, just to give you a heads up, Mike, on this, I have a little problem with the resource area determination that you're showing. There is no BVW, it's all salt marsh, okay? And I've got a picture right here, your number 4 flag, and it's all Barkerus, up gradient of that. And Barkerus is upper salt marsh. It looks as though you should bring that wetland line, whatever you want to call it, I call it a salt marsh, to the 3 contour. And we can do that quick and easy, or we can go out and take a look at it, but, you know, I'm fairly certain that if you bring it up to the 3 contour, that'll match up with the high spring tide line of the year, which I saw a rack up there, and it's almost 100% Barkerus, which is a salt marsh species.
I'm happy to look at that. I don't
I don't think it'll make a difference in
It won't make a
in your
difference,
proposed
but
project.
if it's appropriate, we'll make the revision. We consulted with Blue Flax Design on the delineation.
Okay, so why don't you look at that, and, you know, it might, you know, be
What it
50
might-
square feet
Well, what it
difference in
would do
mitigation,
is-
but
it-
we
it-
want to make sure that it's accurately
Yeah, just
portrayed.
for future's sake.
Yep, yep,
Regardless of where the salt marsh is, we're still within the no disturbance zone A with the whole project, so
Right.
it won't change the math.
right,
But it'll make if it's appropriate, we'll make the change.
yep. Good. Mario, anything else?
No, you still have plenty of room to move this house back from the salt marsh a little bit. There is some room on this lot to do that. Is there any way you can give us a little breathing room from the salt marsh by moving the house back a bit?
We looked at it. There are a couple of trees behind the house that would be
Yeah,
impacted.
you have to get rid of one pitch pine and one cedar.
Right. The applicant really considered that and would prefer not to.
Okay, just a comment, that's all.
I can tell you, my preference is not to get rid of trees either.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Established trees with big root balls.
I guess I agree with that,
Yeah.
yeah. They're mature trees.
It's a
trade-off.
Yeah, you have to do the findings of the lot.
No questions.
No questions? Mike?
You have that 20-inch cedar in the northwest corner.
Yes.
Some kind of provisions to try and protect that? The thing
Yes.
almost overhangs the house as it is?
Yes, in fact, we actually talked to this property owner about that. This property owner owns a local tree management and forestry company, Bartlett Tree and Landscape, and he raised that question to us as well, and we've come up with a solution where this corner of the house foundation would be, it's only a frost wall, so there'll be a small excavator that digs in this location, and he's going to go in and root prune and prune the branches in that one location just to make sure that there's no problem with affecting that tree. And we don't anticipate there being an issue with it, but if something were to occur, of course, we'd have to replace the tree.
I like the project. Thank you.
Okay, and Jen, you can just condition that. But that's good that you're anticipating that ahead of time. Tom?
Took the wind out of my sail. That was the only thing I had, no question.
Tom?
No questions.
Would you like to come and see us in November?
Madam Chairman, I have a question.
Oh,
Mike, did you consult with your clients on the parking issue and the walkway?
No, good point. Well, why don't you raise your concerns and
My concern is don't have any walkway or anything under the designated public parking area. So I'm wondering if that will be incorporated into the plan.
as of right now, you don't anticipate any need for any sidewalks, bluestone, flagstone walkways or anything?
Parking area, so in the summer when it's raining, you're going to just continue to walk over the grass? Okay.
I think so, yeah, that was the plan.
Okay, it's something I noticed.
I was going to say, that's probably what you've been doing.
Yes, that was what we have been.
Yeah.
Okay, it was just, with the raise and rebuild, I wasn't sure if you were going to be anticipating a walkway or anything, and that would need to be shown.
And we don't have an outdoor shower on the new plan, so I'm not sure how that got in there.
Oh, you don't have one?
No.
Yeah,
It probably got in there because sometimes they appear when they haven't been in the plan, and then it's a problem with certificate of compliance.
So not doing an outdoor shower?
well, what happened was, there was a revision to the architectural plan that didn't trickle down to us, or if
Oh.
it did, we missed it. So we're showing, in this case, we're showing one that, and
Well, that's what I say. It's better that you have it and don't build it
Okay,
than,
then maybe we could walk out.
yeah, maybe you will want one, you never know.
Yeah, okay.
I have a question, and this is, you don't have to answer this question, but is this like a family colony there?
No, we
Is-
just
oh,
have the one, it's been in our family for over 30 years.
Yeah.
And.
Were they originally built like that, or were they, it's just a little cottage?
They were all little cottages like that, built in the 30s.
Yeah, but sold to different people, not all,
So,
yeah. Yeah, it's a cute little area, yeah.
Just for the record, just so that, do you need them to identify themselves?
Those were that's Scott and Sharon Alamany.
yes.
Okay,
I was hopeful you could continue it for the DEP file number and the very minor things
you were
to-
hopeful,
to November 20th. Only because it shouldn't take more than a minute or two to open and close it.
well, let's hope we're all,
You're the last engineer to come in today, Mike, I'll be taking it to November 20th.
and we're all in a positive mood because we all hope we're going to be celebrating tonight and tomorrow morning.
Motion to continue this on behalf of the applicant till November 20th.
Seconded?
Okay, any further questions on the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, motion on the table is a continuance to November 20th for small modifications to the plan and a DEP number. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
Very much.
Enjoy.
And enjoy your new house.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Continued request for hearings under a notice of intent. Stephen and Nancy Weinstein, 230 Quistit Avenue, Falmouth, for permission to remove invasive plants, restore with the native plant community and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen, I guess we need a quorum?
Mario, Tommy, Betsy, Mike, and Tom.
Don't wait
And
for
I-
Mario to come back.
Why did Mario leave?
2 seconds ago.
Why did he leave?
I could
For the
gather
record,
that.
my name is Jennifer Exner from Wilkinson Ecological Design, here representing the applicant.
Okay. Jennifer, would you
Are
like?
we waiting for?
Yeah, we can go.
We can go.
Okay. So the last time that we were here, there was a few questions that the commission had and a few things that you had wanted. One of those was for the trees within the vicinity of the land management areas to be surveyed and shown on the plan. So we have identified those in the field, and we have done that and provided to you the third sheet, which is the tree inventory. They're also shown on the first 2 sheets. There was also a question during the hearing that I think the chair brought up about the lawn, and I did not know the answer, but I have looked into that, and I have had a discussion with the applicant about it, and I have brought for you, for the record, rather, the products that are used on their lawn. They are all organic, and they are used in accordance and in keeping with the recommendations for Falmouth Friendly Lawns. So I have brought MSDS sheets for you if you want them for the file. So that was something I looked into. And in summary, just to recap the project a little bit, and I'll try to be brief. I know you have many more people on the agenda tonight. Ultimately, we feel that this project results not only in being able to maintain the current view that the applicant enjoys from this historic property, but that the project and the land management activities that we're proposing, that they really do revitalize and diversify the areas and regenerate some of these areas into native plant communities, one of which is not currently even present on the site. So we feel that this really is an opportunity to be able to introduce a wider diversity that will directly support the interests protected under the Wetlands Protection Act and under your local bylaw. One thing I did forget to mention is that last time we spoke a little bit about the water willow that is there and the potential for that being able to provide habitat for water willow stem borer. I did have our conservation biologist go back out and take a look, and as of the date that she went out, we did not see any evidence of activity from the stem borer in that area. Doesn't mean that it isn't there, but we didn't observe any as of whatever, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when we were out there to pick up the rest of the trees. So that's just a little update. But as we are, or would be maintaining the property or the naturalized areas of the property, that would be something that we would be looking for every fall. So that's all I have.
Jen, anybody have any questions? Well, I have a question that I brought up last time, and that is, I understand the desire to have additional viewscape, but...
And we're talking, just so everybody's on the same page, we're talking about the area that is, of Area 2, that is just, or Area 1, excuse me, that is just south a little bit, that would allow, that is part of the willows, and that would allow a little better view to the pond. That's what we're discussing?
Right.
Yep.
And I understand the desire to basically to set this system back to an earlier ecological succession, because it's a habitat that we don't find as often. However, you have a view area from, is that 2006, Jen? A 2006 order that actually is more expansive than would normally be allowed under an order of conditions. But it's, we honor it because this is, you have an order to do this. But if you were to come in today, and you are coming in today, asking to basically remove a large section of the buffer, then we would say, you've already had a view shed. I mean, there's these vegetated buffers, these complex geometry of, different canopy layers is something we look for in our buffers.
And I think that this plan enhances that.
Well,
I think when we're talking, so let's just for a moment, let's put the view of the pond aside and speak about it from a different standpoint. And I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same issues.
Okay.
And that your concern is that I fully understand it. So if we're talking about that land management area in the context of the existing vegetation that's there, we know that directly adjacent to the pond edge, we have a small area of viable native shrub, scrub, swamp, so viburnums, winterberry, other types of species that you would find in it. Outside of that, we have a mix of native willow as well as hybrid willow, predominantly hybrid willow, as well as an invasive willow. And based on the samples that we took from the site, most of those willow are either hybrid or the invasive species type, the gray willow scenario. So from a vegetation standpoint, as part of this proposal, we feel that management of willow, whether it's in a view shed or not, that's point aside. We feel that will ultimately be able to reduce the pressure that the willow is creating on other parts of the buffer zone and displacing other native vegetation that we feel is providing a much higher quality wildlife habitat to both migratory bird species, to mammals that use it for forage and cover, as well as to native resident bird populations. And with the management of that type of vegetation, we are also promoting, yes, you're right, we are promoting a different type of plant community, one that we know is all 100% native, not a hybrid, not something of an introduced species, but that's also conducive to supporting a native species that we've already found on site, the water willow, which is the only host plant for a Massachusetts state-threatened moth. And so looking at it from that standpoint, although we were conscious that there is an existing view that was approved in 2006 and whatever, we didn't feel that proposing that land management activity outside of a permitted view was something that would be looked upon in a negative manner, simply because we felt that it was benefiting the conditions of the native shrub, scrub, swamp edge that is there, as well as promoting a condition where it could be conducive to supporting a plant that in turn supports a state-threatened moth.
You will still have an area. You will still have an area of Area 1 within the view shed to manage in that way.
Yes.
I'm offering
I
you.
don't disagree with that
I'm
at all.
offering you an opportunity to have that managed area closer to the house, which would offer a view shed to this pond. But the compensation is part of the view shed that you had in 2006 will be swapped for it. And I'm just saying, I understand your concern, but you're still going to have some habitat that will support this endangered species.
Yep, I don't disagree with that at all.
And,
I just wanted
and the reason I'm saying this is everyone in town who has this kind of land deserves to have a view shed. But the rules for you, and the rules for you, and the rules for you, and the rules for you should be the same. And if we were to allow an additional view shed on a land that's already been given a generous view shed, to bring it back to another community that might favor certain organisms, that in fact, if it's not maintained, which we hope it's going to be maintained, but if for some reason it weren't maintained, would quickly revert back to the community that's there because it's areas surrounded by willows.
Then you wouldn't be out anything, right? If it weren't maintained, it would quickly revert back. I'm just wondering if the concern is more for the sake of telling somebody that they have a view or not have a view, or if the concern
My
actually...
concern is to be consistent with the kinds of view sheds that we permit.
And what about the promotion of management and removal of invasive and non-native species in exchange for a high-quality, highly diverse wildlife habitat that is native and is native to Barnstable County?
It depends on the kind of habitat. I could ask you to just replant all of that with native willow. That would be the opposite. That would be the other alternative.
You could, but in that context...
I'm telling you what I'm going to approve or not approve. I don't know about the other members, but I'm just saying, to me, it is not consistent with what we allow in other areas.
Yep, I appreciate that point of view. Would the other members be willing to comment on?
Well, they may
their
or may
thoughts?
not. I mean, we could close it and deliberate. I'm just saying that's my...
Well, I'd like to know if the other commissioners share that same concern, or if I'd just like to have a sense for if there are other questions.
Well, that's
related
their
to
choice. They don't have to say whether they're going to vote one way or the other.
I'm not
So,
asking them to say
yeah.
whether they're going to vote one way or the other. All I'm asking is if they have
any
share that
comments
same
on
concern or
this.
comments.
Anybody have any
I'm going to move
comments?
to close the hearing.
He's ready to close the hearing.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Tom?
I find the information that I've been given compelling. I'm not I do not see everything as others do on this board, and I have to really weigh this out. Being a novice on the vegetation, and I do admit to that, this is something that I'm weighing on. I hear benefits of what is proposed. I also understand about being consistent. This is something that is definitely going to be discussed.
Any other comments?
Mario?
Mario?
I just had one comment. You say there's native and there's invasive willows that we're dealing with here.
And
That's a very
hybrids of the
difficult
two.
genus to
Yes.
get down to species.
Extremely.
I wouldn't mind if you got rid of the gray willow, which is invasive, it's becoming a real pest on the Cape. But I'm a little leery about, wetland replication or wildlife habitat, not only diversity in species, but also spatial diversity,
Yep, stratification.
okay? So, if you take down native willows and put in herbaceous material or low shrubs, we are losing a bit of that spatial diversity.
But you are gaining in a different direction.
I'm sorry?
You are gaining a diversity and stratification in a different direction. Where the willows are currently growing, there is no herbaceous layer underneath them. They grow so densely and so robustly that they are the only thing there. It is a monoculture of willow. So you are gaining you may not be stratifying upwards as you would think of forest stratification with, upper story, mid-story, in that manner, but you are gaining a level of stratification which is not currently present.
about. What I'm saying is, that do you have a reasonable idea of where the gray willow is growing and where the other willows are growing? Can you differentiate in the
It's
field?
very, very difficult.
Yes, it is.
And that could probably be differentiated, but they are all mixed, and the entire
So
pond.
there's no discrete populations there, just
Correct.
intermixed?
Yes, that's correct. They are all interspersed and intermixed with each other. And we have found that even if you have the way that they grow and reproduce, and that they can vegetatively fall over
Propagate.
and, spread, it does become very difficult. I would think it would be a difficult task to be able to manage only native willow within a greater population of hybrids, and there are very, very few people that can ID those. When our conservation biologist was looking at this, it took her literally an entire day going through samples and taxonomic keys and looking, the types of things that you look for can only be seen under a microscope in some aspects, or a hand lens. The bark, there are ridges on the bark that are of various lengths, and so you're looking for characteristics that can't be easily field identified. They have to be identified in an area where you have a dissecting scope, you have light, you have the taxonomic keys, you have resources and other things to be able to compare and contrast with. So it does become very difficult to just identify them in the field. If that helps kind of give a context to, those different aspects of identifying willow.
Arthur Haynes has an excellent treatment of salix, including how to differentiate the gray invasive species with the other native species. So you might...
Which one did you say?
Arthur Haynes. He works
That
for
is one of the,
New England Wildflower Society, yeah.
Yep, and I believe that that's one of the, I have our conservation biologist right up here, and I believe that that is one of the, she used Haynes Key as well as a couple others.
Okay, any other questions?
No.
Okay. We have a motion and second on the table.
I would like to make one little comment.
Yep.
This is always, people may find this boring at home, what that discussion was just now, but what that discussion,
I didn't think it was boring.
no, I didn't either, I'm just saying that, no, but people may find it tedious and not particular, but that was very informative, both from my fellow member and the applicant, that again, when we go into deliberations, I've already made notations about, I'm impressed when both of you can respond to that technical and that specific. I know that you're both professionals, because you just can't arbitrarily pluck this stuff out of the sky. And that was a very informative discussion for me. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the audience? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table to close this hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Thanks a lot,
Thank you very
Jennifer.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Beverly Baker, 353 Edgewater Drive West, East Falmouth, for permission to install native mitigation plantings for unpermitted deck expansion under the expired orders of conditions DEP 25-337, meaning it was a long time ago, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yeah, your phone's Glory, Mario, Mike, Betsy, Tom, and Tom.
It's all of us.
It's good. We have a quorum.
You've given us more plantings?
Giving you more planting. I have to identify myself. I'm Tom Bunker with BSS Design.
Thank you,
right?
Tom.
Yes. Last 2 weeks ago, whenever we were talking about keeping the deck, I see Courtney's not here. Keeping the deck and doing mitigation planting, in exchange for keeping the deck. You wanted to see more planting up to the 3-to-1 calculation and remove this small bit of extra deck that was added after the initial construction. So that's what we've done. That small bit of deck there is 82 square feet. Took that off, we still had 1,550 square feet of shrubs, mixed shrubs with some bayberry, but no more bayberry, but including beach plum and perhaps inkberry, some others, and put in 2 6 to 8 foot tall cedar trees to go in there. That was the change. I hope you can
Okay.
still see to, allow the deck to remain and the planting to be done for it. So, take questions.
I think Courtney just wanted to make sure you got a point. He got a point across, and I think he got the point across.
I've known that point for
To
a
you.
while, yes.
Are there any questions?
Tom, you're removing that other little,
Deck.
Bump
Yes.
out.
yeah, bump out. Okay.
Motion to close the hearing and take it under
Thank you,
advisement.
Tom.
Second?
Okay, any questions? Any questions from the audience? Okay, all in favor of the motion on the table, which is to close the hearing and take it under advisement, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Town of Falmouth Beach Committee is continued to December 4th. Quistit Harbor Land Trust, 71 Quistit Harbor Road, Woods Hole, for permission to install core fiber rolls for bank stabilization, revegetate the bank with native plantings, install stone pavers and walkway areas on the earth-filled stone pier, along with pier maintenance and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen? This is, I think, for a DP number.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Foreman's Lori, Mike, Betsy, Tom, and Tommy. It was for a DEP number only. We received it. We were there.
Motion to close and take under advisement.
Second.
Any questions from the audience? Okay. It's a motion to close this hearing and take it under advisement. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Town of Falmouth Waterways, Harbor Master, care of Greg Frazier, Washburn Avenue, for permission to maintenance dredge the Wacoit Channel with beach nourishment on South Cape Beach, Mashpee, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. This also was continued for, not for DP, is this for
Just
DP?
natural
For natural heritage.
And the quorum is Lori, Mike, Betsy, Tom, and Tommy. It's continued for a national heritage letter, which we have received, so you may close the hearing.
Motion to close and take it under advisement.
Could I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion on this and a second to close the hearing and take it under advisement. Are there any questions from the board? Any questions from the audience? Okay, call for the motion. Ready? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. Wigwam Sipawicet Trust, care of Silvestro Calabrese, trustee, 8 Wigwam Road, West Falmouth, for permission to install an elevated generator, repair and reconstruct an existing licensed stone riprap, approximately 250 linear feet in length, construct access over a coastal dune and beach, restore the construction access route and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Tom is not on this quorum, and this was to have 2 signs, which, Jen?
Mario, Mike, Betsy, and Tommy.
Okay,
It was for to have the installation of the 2 signs. And Mike, did you submit us a revised plan showing the removal of one of the groins?
I'm going to recuse
My
myself.
name is Michael McGrath. I'm a registered engineer and professional land surveyor. My firm, Holmes McGrath, prepared the plan. I submitted a revised plan showing that these 2 small groins will be removed and this one will be maintained. We continued it also because there was no MISA letter on file.
and there is now?
It should have come by now because it's way over 30 days. I do have one dated September 24th.
Okay.
Or you have one?
Can you submit that to us? First? Madam Chairman, flip that over.
What was their finding, Mike?
Flip this,
Flip that section over. And
No work can occur between April 1st to August 31st of any year unless a qualified shorebird monitor is determined by National Heritage Endangered Species Program has first surveyed the area no more than 48 hours prior to the start of work and determined that no state-listed nesting shorebirds are within 100 yards of the proposed work area. A written report must be submitted that,
Can we just have a copy?
Yeah.
We understand
no,
what you're
they
saying.
asked me to, somebody asked me to read it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So that's what I'm reading.
No, we're aware of the time of year restrictions for the birds. Thank you.
Any other comments, Mike?
No?
Oh, by the way, those were very lovely signs.
Thank
Which I'm going to check out this weekend.
Do you want pictures? I have brought.
I saw the pictures on Jen's computer. But you can put the pictures in the file so that we'll remember what they look like, should we need to remind you again.
There's plenty.
Can I see them? I haven't seen them.
I hope we hurry, the Bruins are on.
Okay, could we have a motion to close this hearing and take it under advisement?
Make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Could we have a second?
I have second.
Okay, got that? Motion and second to close the hearing and take it under advisement. Any questions from the audience? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Come on, guys, I know everybody wants to leave because there's a game on, there are 2 games on, but we have a little bit more work to do. Mike, do you want these back?
No. Thank you.
I'll give one to Tom, even though he wasn't on the quorum. Okay, request to amend the existing order of conditions. Chapcoit Associates, care of Jonathan Harley, President, Associates Road, West Falmouth. Request to amend the existing order of conditions, DEP number 253901, to install a sand filter to treat runoff and to allow the entire roadway parallel to Buzzards Bay to be repaved. Jen?
Mike, I thought we were only doing it in the area where the riprap is being repaired.
Right, we're doing it from about here to about there. And I gave you a cross-section.
Yeah, okay.
I prepared colored plans by similarly forgotten. What's going on is the contractor expects a greater portion of this to be broken up. So he's presented to the associates a request to have the entire width of the road paved. And in order to pave it, we have to address the drainage. So I submitted a cross-section showing that there'd be a leaching trench all along this area, that this pavement would be pitched.
That's it.
When we pitch the pavement, there'll be a slight disturbance of the dunes that I showed in the cross-section being restored. This area drains down to a low area, and there's actually a man-made swale that's going to be revegetated as part of this. So the drainage is being treated naturally here and be treated by passing through the leaching trench that I have designed and submitted to the commission.
Okay, let's see if there are any questions.
But it's only in the area that's being repaired, the riprap. It's not the entire length of that, right?
No.
No, that's
No,
what
no,
I
no.
thought. Yeah, I
This is
thought, then I
public.
heard Betsy wrong.
This is 2 posts, and they're
Yeah,
coming down.
that's what I thought.
Yeah. They'll bring the trench down whole length, but they're going to end up.
You didn't hear me wrong. I read what was, it says, to allow the entire roadway parallel to Buzzards Bay to be repaved. The entire roadway that's adjacent to the riprap to be repaired. To be,
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I don't know. Questions? Question?
I've already been, from other activities around the island, I've already met the potential foreman, and we've had discussions about, this is a very tight area, and site management is going to be crucial. I had initially spoke to him about it as well. It's not necessarily the other contractors that, we're all cognizant, being in the trade, what to expect, but and the learning curve is very quick for them. and they've been able to respond in a very positive manner on the other project they're already doing. So I'm very hopeful that this disruption, for the, whatever extended period it is, will be received by the associates, and maybe you could just kind of smooth it along, that they really are doing their best to stay out of the way of people. That corner is just absolutely, you know, when you're done tearing it up, it's going to be far better than what it is now. But
gonna be
between
difficult for people moving
between
past.
then and now, it's going to be poo-poo.
I understand the contractor's from down Cape, he's not normally seen here a lot, but he was recommended by several of his customers before, so he seems to be a quality contractor.
Yeah, and you might just
I'm agreeing
remind
with you
him
on
that there's a lot of traffic.
Oh, he's aware of it.
Oh, he's aware of it.
All right,
Yeah, very much so.
okay.
Motion to close and
No, it's already on the, we already have a motion to close, don't we? Okay,
motion to close and take it under advisement.
Second.
okay, motion to close and take it under advisement. Any questions from the audience? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Thanks, Mike. Continued request to amend the existing order of conditions. This is the Town of Falmouth waterways, and we'll skip right down to what they want to do, which is amend the existing order of conditions to extend the permitted Green Pond Channel dredging by 415 feet, 28,000 square feet, with improvement dredging of 1,100 cubic yards. And that's going to be continued because we don't have the MISA letter. Is that correct, Jen?
Yeah,
To what date?
we'll do November 20th.
Okay,
On behalf of the applicant,
You guys will be busy
the
that
motion will
day.
be till November 20th.
For Mesa letter on, National Heritage letter on.
for natural heritage.
Natural heritage letter only.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion second to close the hearing and take it under advisement. Any questions from the audience? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
Madam Chairman, can you hold 1 second, please?
Yep.
All right, Madam Chairman, so
Okay, enforcement issues. Eel Pond Realty LLC, 87 Water Street, Woods Hole, for digging, clearing, and altering wetland resource area and in buffer to resource areas as defined in FWR 10.00 and 310 CMR 10.00.
Yes,
Jen.
Madam Chairman, I'm sending down photographs of behind the Woods Hole Market. We were contacted about work that was done without a valid permit. Some of you may remember, actually, Madam Chairman, I think you're the only one that might remember, oh, Tom, you'll remember. The applicant had come before you a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago, to do some patio work or deck work behind the market, do some repairs to the seawall and install a fence drain. That order of conditions was never recorded. I never acted upon. The applicant put in a patio. I think the patio, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Powers, has been there for about a year. We were just alerted to it a few months ago. It's something I believe the board would have allowed the applicant to do, but with the condition that proper drainage be installed, because there is, or we've been told, a drainage issue on abutting properties and into the pond. So we scheduled an enforcement hearing, and the board can decide whether or not to order to require the drainage, especially in the area, if you look at one of the pictures, you can see the patio like tilting down. The staff would just like, you know, if the board wanted to act, we would recommend some proper drainage on that site, so it's not going into the lawn. The wall was repaired, but there's nothing we can do about that, so. Okay?
Would anybody else, I'd like to put a physical eye to this. You know, the photographs, I don't know are gonna do it justice. I'd like to have the time to actually visit the site.
That's fine.
So we can continue this and discuss it.
Yeah, the pictures are, thank you for them, but I'd just like to maybe get a little.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I do want to point out that what we approved, well, you remember,
Right.
did have drainage.
Yeah, it tries to
Against
be
the,
top of wall.
at the top of the wall, yeah,
Yeah.
there was something up
I mean, I don't think it's something that's going to be difficult to install on this site. It would be beneficial, and as I said, I don't believe the patio would have been something the board would not have approved, but it does need to be conditioned with drainage. And the board also there were other conditions as part of that order, which the applicant did not agree with, and that is why the original order was not supported.
Okay, the next time, could you bring the file for that? You have the file.
Right here?
Okay. Okay, we'll want that for the discussion
Okay.
in the next
I mean, I can
hearing.
show you the plan that wasn't approved, so.
So,
So you guys want to?
Continue to November?
Go down and look at it, that's fine.
Yeah, I would appreciate that, just so I could
Okay,
see the measure of this on my own.
okay.
to December 4th,
Yeah, this can't be done.
20th. All right, before we continue, before we continue and close it for tonight, are there any comments? Mike?
Madam Chairman, my name is Michael Borselli, Falmouth Engineering, and I was retained Monday by Mr. Parrish to see if I could help resolve this matter. I haven't had a chance to really do much. I did go down and talk to Jen this morning. I had a conversation with Jeff, and I have the letter. There's been some distractions in Jeff's life recently. His father passed away very recently, and there was a wedding and a birth in the family, so there's been a lot of things going on, and it's not that he doesn't want to focus on it. He's been distracted with other things. So if we are granting a continuance, that's good, because I haven't had a chance to really look at it or try to contemplate the things that are being considered beyond what Jen and I just talked about this morning. I'd like to go look at the site, and it'd be great if we got a big rainstorm so we could see what happens out there.
Well, the next door neighbor might not like the big rainstorm,
But you know, all that being said, I'm hopefully here to help and
Yep.
get things resolved. So.
Yep, good, thanks. Any other comments?
Madam Chairman, members of the board, Attorney Christopher Corain from Mashpee. I represent the butter, Woods Hole Marine. We do have a concern about drainage. That is, the primary concern. It's unfortunate that, work was done without permits. My understanding from just a brief history stated tonight that a similar proposal may have been put before this board before. The applicant didn't go through it, and now it seems like they've decided to do the work, without the benefit of the commission's oversight and those conditions, So I find it, I don't know what the motivation was to not do the work, but I believe that the abutter is well aware of your requirements in these areas. I would hope that no further work is going to be done by the applicant or by the property owner until such time that the commission has an opportunity to view, as well as review what the work is done and what steps are going to be taken from there. Certainly we'll have more comment once we know what the commission's position may be, but there is a drainage concern. My client's seen it, he's raised that issue, and we consider it a very serious issue.
Right, and I might say that at the time that your client brought this up was a time when we had those very heavy rains and inch-an-hour type rains that heighten. It's not just any rain, it's these,
I understand.
a lot of rain in a short duration.
And I can appreciate that, but I would point out, as was mentioned by your conservation agent, that if this were to be approved by the commission, there would have been drainage that would have been required.
No, it was on the original plan.
And that wasn't done.
Right.
So, even irrespective of whether it was a heavy rainstorm or not, it was done without the benefit of any type of drainage or mitigation in that regard.
Right.
So.
No, I understand. And I don't think Mr. Parrish intends to do anything on this property.
Well, it's all finished.
Well, it's not all finished. It's all finished to this point. What the point is, you're not going to do anything further until we have another hearing, Mike looks over the situation, and we make a decision.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the audience?
Susan, might need your name for the record.
Oh. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to continue this to December 4th?
Yes.
Is that correct? Yes. Okay, so you know the dates? Tommy?
I just had a comment from Mike. Maybe in the next couple weeks or a few weeks while this is continued, you can talk to the abutters while you're getting a plan together. I think that would be useful to facilitate that and see if we can get something that works.
Okay. Thanks. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table to continue to December 4th. All in favor? Or maybe I'm asking for a motion.
A motion to continue to December 4th.
Second.
Okay, Mario seconded?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you.
Gentlemen.
Okay, we have three things on other business. I know you think there's two, but there are three.
There are three. First off is a request from the Falmouth Academy to use the trails in BB Woods for the annual Chase the Turkey race, something you approve every year.
Could we have a motion?
Motion to approve that.
Oh, thank you.
Could we have a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion on the table to allow the Chase the Turkey. Is that what it's called? Chase the Turkey race? Well, there are probably going to be a lot of turkeys there to chase this year. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. The second is, Jen is inviting us all on November 15th so that we can vote on what we just closed tonight. And
It's a good time.
given some of us have very early, at least 2 or 3 of us have very early work schedules,
7. Is that too late?
Whatever
What
it
day
is.
is November 15th?
it's a Friday.
The earlier the better is for me, so.
Could we
whatever's-
stretch it to 7:30?
That's
Seven's
up to
okay.
Tom and Tommy.
You're gonna get-
I could do 7. Can you guys do 7? 7?
7.
7?
7 a.m. or p.m.?
AM.
AM.
AM, Martin. 7 AM.
I'll,
Mike,
Not a problem.
Betsy, Tom, if I can have Mike, Betsy, Tom, and Tommy. I need 4 of you.
you might need Mario. You're gonna need Mario on one he had to excuse himself
Oh,
for.
yeah, that's right, Mario.
Mario, you have to come.
7 AM.
You could avoid this if you like,
I'll just get a hotel room
Why?
downtown.
because we'd have enough of a quorum without. But you're
Mornings
certainly,
don't bother me, I'd rather do mornings every meeting.
okay. Okay, so
Don't give them ideas.
7 AM on the,
Motion to have a 7 AM on November 15th.
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. It's amazing, actually. Okay, and the third is the CPC, as you know,
I do know.
is proposing something for town meeting, and they can't, it's, Jen and I attended a meeting, and we sort of, somewhere along the way, the ball slipped, but,
Ken came and presented the concept plan to you.
Right.
well, the concept plan,
Yeah.
but not the CPC application.
Yeah.
So Ken, maybe you could pick it up from there. So what's the
actually-
first step?
What's CPC, please?
The
Community Preservation Commission.
I'm Ken
Committee.
Buckland, co-chair of the Community Preservation Committee. And what we've done is we've had a master plan that's been done by the Horsley Wind Group for the conservation land at Spring Bars Road. Now, as you know, you actually are the responsible party for the town on that piece of land, on the conservation land. There's a conservation restriction on it that's held by the 300 Committee, and the CPC has money to put up to improve the property. So we decided to have a three-part committee set up with the application for the continuation of the design for the purposes of implementing the master plan that had been done. Everything's fine up to this point, except that I signed the application. And Jennifer Petit, the town accountant, says that...
She's the director of finance.
Director of Finance, thank you very much. The Director of Finance, Jennifer Petit, says that it should be signed by the Conservation Commission as the owner of the property, or the responsible party of the property. This is something we've had to deal with in other applications this year on projects that affect town-owned land. Who's the responsible party for that purpose?
And the application can, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to request $50,000 from the CPC at November's town meeting.
It's Article 32
Yeah.
for November town meeting,
Yeah.
for $50,000 for the design and permitting for the improvements of access to the Little Pond
And
Conservation.
we've already talked to...
To implement
Yeah.
public access
That's
to
correct.
that area.
That's
And
correct.
we've already talked to the engineering department about how they may be able to help us, and they're pretty stretched thin right now. So
Right.
They're
As
unable to offer.
I found out talking to Peter on another matter today. Yeah. Okay, so...
So what I'd like is an action by the Conservation Commission to sign, authorize you to sign that application form so we can continue in the process of implementing.
Yeah, so what you would like is a motion on the table that authorizes Jen to sign that form, that,
It'll be you, Madam Chairman.
me, that authorizes me to sign that form on behalf of the commission.
You could authorize Jen if you wanted in this particular action.
I think she'd rather have me do it. I'm willing to do it.
Well, I'd like to make the motion that on behalf of the commission, the chair
We'll do it.
will sign for the Article 32.
Second?
Okay, is there any other discussion? Okay, call for the vote. All in favor of the motion on the table, which is for the commission to sign, and I'll sign as chair, supporting vote, or applying for the funds for this first step for public access to the Little Pond Landing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention?
Thank you very much.
Unanimous, so moved. Thanks, Ken.
Appreciate it.
Okay, vote orders of conditions, 58 off Sam Turner Road, AKA Williams Hollow Way, Nancy and Edward Shute.
Yes, Madam Chairman, this is for the raise and rebuild, Lori, Mario, Mike, Betsy, Tom, and Tommy in the forum. And the raise and the rebuild of the little cottage on Woodgate Pond.
I'm not on this one, I don't think. Am I? Oh, I am on it.
I didn't think I was on it either. I haven't.
No, we're
seen
on
this
No,
one.
you weren't, this is before you were on.
Is this before? No, he just opened it. I think,
We needed to close this
I don't
for,
think I'm on the next two, actually.
This was closed because
I'd
you
like to
needed a letter or
excuse myself
something.
for a minute, if that's
You're
all
on
right.
on the next two.
I'll be right
Yeah.
back.
Here's the first hearing crossed off, that's why. So it's Mario, Mike, Tom. Tom and Betsy, yeah.
Yeah, I'm on it.
You guys are all on.
I wasn't, this was postponed, I was absent when it was first supposed to be heard, and then he opened it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're fine.
So
Yes.
everybody but
Yeah.
Lori.
Yeah.
Correct. This is pretty straightforward, there's no real,
Yeah, I just want, the
no
only
bumps in the
thing,
road.
well, except that Mario pointed out the importance of the
beach area.
of the beach area, and just make that as a finding.
Yes.
And as a condition that special care be taken.
That beach area not be enlarged, right, Mario? That was your concern.
And I think,
With additional alteration along that coastal plain pond shore edge.
Yeah, they
Yes.
have a path
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
to access the water,
And
but
I-
they shouldn't be,
historically, I
Go
think
ahead.
if they were, I think they're pretty sensitive to that, because it's been there a long time. Even though it's a new home, it's the same
Yeah, it's-
stewards.
yeah.
So I think that this is, as long as we recognize that and have it as a finding,
Yeah.
I'd like to move it as discussed,
as presented.
as presented.
You have a question?
Was there there are some, building the thing is going to be a bit of a challenge with the overhanging
They're
branch.
panelized. Yep, but he was
But
gonna,
he's gonna bring it in
Just some
and-
conditions to be sure that,
He's going to bring it in
Appropriate.
sections, right?
Right.
Yeah.
right, but there are provisions to be sure that those trees are protected as best you can.
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Jen?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to make the motion?
I did.
Oh,
I'll second Tom's motion.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Are you with me, Susan? Okay, to accept this as discussed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved. 57 Gunning Point Avenue, John Billings.
Yes, Madam Chairman, this is the construction of a single-family home right on Gunning Point. And you hearing from this, your form on this one will be Tommy, Mario, Mike, Betsy, and Tom. The issue is basically whether or not the project meets your performance standards. The applicant's representative contends that there is no buffer for the coastal bank, and I know that some members of the commission disagree with that, staff disagree with that, and there is a buffer zone to that, which will be not be met if the project were to go forward. So, do you want me to go over those?
I can go over them if you want.
Yeah, those ones.
I specifically asked you last week to go over buffer zone regs, coastal bank regs, and land subject to coastal storm flowage. So I went over them, and I'm just going to read the findings. First, there's a single coastal bank on 57 Gunning Point Avenue, and those of you who read the minutes note that I specifically asked Mr. McGrath that question. For FWR 10.4, 10.184 it should be. That's our buffer regs. States, a resource area buffer zone that includes a no disturbance area shall be required for all activities adjacent to resource areas specified in FWR 10.021A through E, and A through E lists many of our resource areas. FWR 10.01A1 is bank. 4, the bank on 57 Gunning Point Avenue is a non-eroding coastal bank in a velocity zone. FWR 10.185A3D states, the width of the no disturbance zone, Zone A, shall be 50 feet for the following resources: D, an eroding coastal bank not in a velocity zone, a non-eroding coastal bank in a velocity zone. Furthermore, on 61 Gunning Point Avenue, there is a freshwater wetland that's within 100 feet of the coastal bank that's on 57 Gunning Point Avenue. 5, the proposed work will result in clear-cutting most of the 50-foot buffer to the coastal bank and making a significant portion of that buffer zone impervious surface. FWR 10.183A states, and this is a presumption, where a project involves removing, building upon, degrading, or otherwise altering a resource area buffer zone adjacent to a resource area specified in FWR 10.02A through E, the Commission shall presume that such area is significant to or will have cumulative effect upon the resource area values specified in FWR 10.181. This is the buffer zone. And I just pulled out some points from it. Buffers not only protect the quality of the adjacent wetland habitat, but also provide critical habitat for many species of wildlife. In addition, buffers reduce the adverse impacts of human disturbance on wetland habitat by blocking noise and glare, reducing sedimentation and nutrient input, reducing direct human disturbance from dumped debris, cut vegetation and trampling, and providing visual separation. The ability of a buffer to protect a wetland resource and to provide habitat increases with buffer width and continuity. The effectiveness of riparian forests, and this is not a riparian forest, but it's analogous to a riparian forest because it's a linear forest along a waterway. To perform ecological functions include acting as dispersal corridors between forest fragments, enhancing the biodiversity of landscapes, and helping to improve water quality depends on the width of the riparian forest. Generally, buffers less than 50 feet are ineffective in protecting wetlands or providing wetland habitat, wildlife habitat functions. If the no disturbance zone is in a naturally vegetated state, the Commission will include a no structure zone adjacent to the no disturbance zone. These zones are established because alteration of these areas within a resource area buffer invariably results in the alteration of the adjacent resource area. Wetland alterations observed during construction include siltation, overgrading, or deposition of construction debris. Alterations observed after construction include increased runoff, siltation, temperature or nutrient loading resulting from the change in land use immediately adjacent to wetlands, as well as unregulated filling, cutting of vegetation, extension of lawns, or deposition of yard waste from improper land use. These subsequent alterations cannot be regulated without the imposition of the restrictive zones detailed above. Since the Commission cannot allow unregulated alteration of wetlands, these restricted zones will likely be imposed on all projects. 7, along much of Gunning Point, there is a continuous vegetated band that lies on the coastal bank and in many lots in the buffer to the coastal bank. There are trees within the buffer to coastal bank on 57 Gunning Point, and there is a vegetated corridor from the vegetated coastal bank through the buffer to the vegetated areas across Gunning Point Road and throughout the neighborhood. The coastal bank on Gunning Point is significant to storm damage protection because it, and this quote, because it is a vertical buffer to storm waters. Coastal bank, FWR 10.301, states that coastal banks, because of their height and stability, may act as buffer or natural wall which protects upland areas from storm damage and flooding. 10.302D states, when the Commission determines that a coastal bank is significant to storm damage prevention or flood control because it's a vertical buffer to storm waters, the stability of the bank, i.e. the natural resistance of the bank to erosion caused by wind and rain runoff, is critical to the protection of resource area values. 10.381 states relative sea level considerations, those portions of floodplains which are immediately landward of salt marshes, coastal beaches, barrier beaches, coastal dunes, or coastal banks require special protection. These areas are likely to be in a state of transition as the entire complex of coastal wetland resources gradually moves landward because of the fact that, quote, for the past thousands of years, relative sea level has been rising in Massachusetts, and it is still rising, resulting in inundation of more landward area. And finally, 10.382B3, the landward boundaries of the V-zone shall be presumed to be 25-foot landward of the boundaries shown on the flood insurance rate map.
Madam Chairman, I just put the plan down and I just colored the coastal bank for you guys to kind of
Yeah,
understand.
it's a continuous coastal bank
Yeah.
around Gunning Point.
And I think, so that orange part is the coastal bank. On the subject property and the adjacent property. Your regulations do have a 50-foot buffer to the top of that coastal bank. That's one of your regulations. The project does not meet that.
Is that how Mike delineated the coastal bank, or is
The
that?
orange?
Yeah,
This is the top.
right, that's what he has labeled at the top.
Yeah. This,
Right.
this is that property, that's the adjacent property.
This is what McGrath
Yeah,
is designated as the top of the coastal bank.
yeah.
Right there.
Right here,
Yeah, no, it's, yes.
top of coastal bank, right there. Velocity zone down
Mike
here.
and LEC put a lot of effort into talking about the resource area values of the vegetation on the coastal bank. But my point was, they didn't address at all the resource area values of the buffer to the coastal bank. And I know some of you tend to be sympathetic that you say it's not fair that this happened, but I looked at when all those properties were developed around Gunning Point, and with the exception of one property that was a vacant lot that was built in 1999 that met the performance standards as of 1999, they were all developed well before the Falmouth Wetlands bylaw. And this is what, there are a reason why there are regulations. A lot of these houses would not have been able to be built as close as they were had they come in now. So, I mean, the bottom line for me is it doesn't meet regulation.
I have to admit that, not to talk out of turn, Madam
No,
Chair.
no,
You're given, this is a tough sell. This is, it's marked on here, coastal bank, and then you have to apply what's, I found a lot of the information given by the applicant is very compelling, and that the adverse effects and the presumptions, I do agree with the majority of them. But the one thing that is sticking in my claw is that, and it is on here, and it is the top of the coastal bank. And is the glass half empty or is it half full? How do you, I find, like I said, I do find a lot of the information that was given compelling. I think that they've given a modest project comparatively. I don't agree with I still think there's a vast amount on the property that would be beneficial to the environment, even with this being developed. I don't see it being, I don't see that being an issue. But as far as the resource to the buffer area, it's a very high hurdle. And I'd like other people with their discussions to, I'll put a motion to accept the plan as
Right.
as presented. so that it's out there and that we can, because regardless, it's got to come on as a positive application. So that would be my motion to accept this plan as presented.
Okay,
Discussion?
I'll second that motion.
okay, is there any further discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
10:30.
Mm-hmm.
6. Any product on such a coastal bank or within 100 feet of the top of such coastal bank shall have no adverse effect on the stability of the coastal bank.
What?
And I'm groping if, I don't see where the project would,
It doesn't, it isn't on the coastal bank.
no, it says it's within 100 feet landward is where the regulation applies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that, I think the project, while it's,
That has to do with movement of sediment. Read the whole thing.
uh-huh. So back up to the regulations.
That has to do with movement of sediment.
Okay.
I'm saying the role of the coastal bank in providing a vertical buffer to storm waves.
Right.
And that's why I put in a storm that was actually, the center was 150 miles from here, and water came halfway up.
Halfway up,
that
but
bank.
I understand. But
If you look at the flood, if you look at the flood maps.
Right.
And there's what's called a slosh map, which is if a storm, a Category 1 or 2 or 3 storm come at high tide, up Buzzards Bay.
Right.
How much would be flooded?
Right.
From surge, and this entire area would be flooded. So, I mean, the reason, this is, and it's, I find it interesting that the planning department is now starting to look at projects along coastal flooding and implications of it. Actually, I read three different articles in the newspaper that said, oh, we're going to work with the Conservation Commission on whatever the issue happens to be, and this is one of the issues they're talking about. You probably didn't read it. But the reason the planning department is now getting involved is because, not only is sea level rising, but in the past 15 years, the rate of sea level rise is increasing. Sea level has been rising for 10,000 years, but the rate of sea level rise has been increasing and is expected to be 2 to 3 feet, maybe 4 feet by the end of the century, which means that every one of these zones is going to be moving higher up.
Okay, but I'm still back. The buffer zone is measured from the top of the bank.
Yeah.
Top of the bank landward.
Landward, 100 feet. And Mike didn't even acknowledge that there was a buffer zone,
No,
which I pointed out the first hearing.
there's a buffer zone to this bank, yes.
And I also pointed out the first hearing that it didn't meet performance standards and that there were other mechanisms he could use if something didn't meet performance standards. And he chose not to do that. Mario?
Yeah, I've read and reread the regulations, and this is the latest revision that Mike gave us a couple of weeks ago. And there's no doubt in my mind, and Mike replied to your question, that there's a single coastal bank on this lot. I think we also said that it doesn't meet performance standards for protection of wildlife habitat. This is going to take out quite a bit of the existing vegetation on this lot, and it's almost per se that important wildlife habitat will be impacted by this. I didn't buy the argument of LEC and Holmes McGrath that this represents some kind of marginal wildlife habitat. in a densely developed area, this would be almost a refuge for wildlife. And certainly it's not marginal in my opinion.
Well, also the map he showed, it's, you know, I mean, there's Gunning Point Avenue, but there's continuous vegetation across the street and into areas in the neighborhood.
So I don't see how we can permit this. You know, I feel sorry for the landowner. They've held this land for, what, 100 years. They saw the area developed all around them, but they had options besides waiting a century before they brought the project up. You know, conservation restriction of some sort to relieve them of tax burden that would have protected this area. I mean, there were options. This is what happens. The last lot in a developed subdivision, it's always the poor sister, you know, but I just think that the regulation here is clear, non-eroding coastal bank in a velocity zone, a 50-foot no disturbance zone, upgrading of the coastal bank. You know, this is a fairly sizable project too. And I think we lose a lot of wildlife habitat if we allow this project.
I got to take some exception to that reasoning. We may end up on the same side of the vote. The vast majority of the area in question, which is habitable, which is on the bank, is not going to be disturbed. We have this upland area that will be. In all our decisions, we decide on not just the effect of the project, but the cumulative effect. If you're driving a pile, it isn't the one pile, it's all the piles that go into a pond that make the difference. And the reverse logic has to apply here. The decision, people before us who, without our knowledge, allowed a project that we say today wouldn't be allowed today, and for the most part, that all the land along the coast has been act-backed. And most of the systems of, ecological systems of Falmouth would be better off if people stayed on the other side of the canal. We put in regulations to strike a balance between what you can do and what you can't do. And to say we're going to compare no development to some development just isn't fair. It doesn't sit with me. I mean, people have done the best they could. They're not moving down. The argument that this little patch that's left is vital to that area, it just doesn't sit with me. I'm sorry, I don't see it. It's a civil engineer speaking, so, you know, I'm probably not as sensitive as some people.
I can tell you, Mike, these buffer regulations are the core to our regulations, because that's where activities take place. And you actually said it best at the last hearing. You said, is a half a house better than a whole house? And I said, yes.
And I don't agree with that.
And no house is better than any house.
See, that's where, if we just went back to the house that we just today, and we agreed that if you built it today, you couldn't have that deck, but it's there, and the project isn't better or worse without it.
This isn't a rebuild of
This
is an undisturbed A buffer to a coastal bank.
And now you're down to the part that makes me uncomfortable. But just staying with this.
That's all I'm sticking with. I'm saying that it doesn't meet performance standards.
There you go. But look, this is the 21st century. When we put in new regulations, it's pretty easy to say which projects are going to be impacted and which ones aren't. The town has done nothing. So he sat there and collected the taxes, and I'm uncomfortable with that.
The applicant has a responsibility as well.
I understand that, but the town has a
Well, are they supposed
responsibility.
to, is the town supposed to notify every property owner along the water, along a river, along a wetland, that they have, you know, people have the responsibility of their own land.
And it's a joint responsibility. We've been sending out we've been sending out tax bills.
No,
And it was
Mike,
supposed to pay it.
I can tell you a situation that Jen had to deal with a couple of weeks ago, and that was, somebody came to the assessor and said, I want to take my land off
Yeah.
the tax because
I
it
understand
doesn't,
that.
it's unbuildable.
I
And the assessor said, I can't say that it's unbuildable. And so they went to Jen, and Jen said, I can't say it's unbuildable, but I can give you a letter saying that it is unbuildable according, it could not receive a conservation permit. It does not meet conservation regulations. And the assessor said, that's enough for me. I'll consider it unbuildable. So that option exists. Is that up there for?
Yeah, I'm on the other oar with Mike. I really do, I have found, it is sticking right here in my claw, and I don't, if I hadn't been involved in permitting and other activities here, I wouldn't, my first go-around on this board and doing just down the street, I see all the efforts going into this to be, and I take some umbrage with expecting the town and the applicant to be aware of one another. That's just a conduit that doesn't exist. I wish it did, but it doesn't. That's a sad reality. I too am uncomfortable a lot of times, Mike. I'm the guy who put the motion forward to approve this project, and rereading and reading, I don't, I put the motion on the table. If there's no other discussion, I'll call for the vote.
I'll call for the vote. Tommy, any comments?
No.
Okay. Any more comments?
I've said my piece.
Okay. Okay, there's a motion on the table to approve this project as presented. All in favor of the motion on the table, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion doesn't pass.
Without prejudice.
Without prejudice.
Okay, next one.
20 Swift Street, Edward Leon. Does anybody have a score?
I have to score the Bruins game.
No, I'm not interested in the Bruins game.
Almost done. Let's keep going.
For the Sox. Swift,
The redo.
not open. Lori, Mike, Betsy, Tom, and Tommy.
Can you refresh my mind on this one?
I'm trying to refresh my septic upgrade.
It's an improvement.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
You remember this one.
DSS design.
Yeah.
Septic upgrade out near, was it like off of Nashville?
Yes, correct.
In that little area?
Yep.
And it has to be, they have to.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
They have
yeah,
to
yeah.
move the cedars for
And it's
the,
gonna be the little
Right.
mounted system, and Mike made was it Mike that made the comment about the water coming, like that part of the property is
Jeff.
like
I think it was Jeff.
submerged?
Did you make that comment?
I am drawing a blank.
Oh,
Jeff Ryder was the
Oh,
one that
here.
presented this.
It's this one.
They're
This
gonna-
one.
They're gonna
This is
take two sheeters
Mashawina,
out, put them back.
and surf comes
Mashawina.
off it.
We have like elevations of 5.9.
This isn't a real street.
Yep.
Paper Road. They don't want to go down Bifford because it's someone's lawn. Come off in West Falmouth. This is the mounded septic
Right.
system.
Right.
You guys are still all drawing a blank on me?
No, we're with you.
I've been there.
Anybody have any comments on it?
I think we took care of the two trees that he's gonna put
Yeah.
back. Yeah. Motion to accept the order as presented and discussed.
I know this is where you said there were more trees than he had on the plan.
Yes,
Yes,
So,
and they showed up.
yes.
They showed up. Okay, now I'm bored. Here,
Now he's on.
now I'm bored.
okay, so let's have, a
I'm not a
motion.
good poker player, let's face
Do
it.
we have a motion? We had a motion and a second to accept this? We're all ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous, so moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Susan makes the motion to adjourn,
And I say we all second it.
We all second.
and we all second
Yeah, we
it.
all second it, for the record.
All those in favor?
The only,
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We already said we all agree.
Go Sox.
So I think.
You guys, can you do me a favor and make sure you all sign all of